Hi, I'm Tony from Humpop Gaming, and today we're going to look at using the shift key to make a character run. Now, the same concept can be applied to if you want to use a shift key, or if you want to use one of the trigger keys on a controller, or if you even want to use the mouse. We'll look at how to do all of them. We start by adding the local script to the starter player scripts. We then want to get the user input service and get our local player. I'm then going to set two values which won't change. One's the run speed, which I'm going to set to 50, and the other's the walk speed, which I'm setting to 16. Now what I want to do is watch for when the player presses a key. So to do this, I use the input began functionality. Now when you connect to this event, you can run a function. And when you do run a function, you get passed two parameters. One is the input, the other is the game processed event. Now all the game processed event is saying is, has this key input already been handled by a Roblox GUI? Now, because we're looking to use this as part of our game to enable the sprint functionality, we don't want to take any action if it's already been processed by a Roblox GUI. So when we talk about the Roblox GUI, we're talking about the chat functionality or something like that. So if a user's been typing in the chat and they happen to press shift in the chat, we don't want to take any action on that. So what we do is we just return at that point and we don't go any further. However, if this value hasn't been processed, then we want to check that the shift key has been pressed, because what will happen is any key input that's been pressed will come into this input began functionality. So what we're going to do, we're going to check that the left shift button has been pressed. And if the user pressed the shift button, we're going to get the character. From here, we can get the humanoid and we can set their walk speed. And because what we're saying is when the user presses the shift key, we want to set that equal to the run speed. So if we run that now, I press shift, our player runs. Trouble is now, every time they run, their run speed is always at 50. Ignore this grip editor tool, I can't get rid of it. So now what we need to do is take this same functionality, but we're going to watch the input ended event. So if we copy that, paste it down here, I can say input ended, and take the walk speed, and when we release shift this time, we're going to set the walk speed back to its player's normal walk speed. So if we press play again, I'm walking, I hold shift, I'm running, I release, and we go back to our walking pace. Now that's great, but we have repeated code. We don't want to have repeated code because that means our scripts are going to grow really quickly. They're going to become really unmanageable. So the first thing we can do is we can see this has been repeated. And this is something we could put to the top of our script. So I can copy that, put it up here, which then means I can get rid of that. Now we've reduced the amount of duplicated code we've got, we can look at improving this a little bit further. Currently, all we're interested in looking at is the left shift button. But if a user wants to use the right shift button, we need to be able to allow for that as well. So we can say input.keycode, and if that's equal to our enum keycode right shift, then we'll set the run speed, and when they release it, we'll set it back to the walk speed. And this will work, but we'll give it a quick test. Close the grip tool editor again. If I walk, hold the right shift, it works. Hold left shift, it works. Now this works perfectly fine, and if you're happy with this, then you can finish there. However, what we can do is create a local function. That's if I could spell function right. What we'll do here is set the walk speed, and we'll pass the speed in. And you can see the only difference between these two pieces of code is it's the speed that's been set. So what we're doing is we're creating a function, we're passing in that speed, and what I can do is copy this here, paste it into there, and instead of looking for that, I can just watch for speed. I'll also need to put the input object in. And we can set the data type of speed to be a number. And then all we have to do in here is call set walk speed, pass in the input object, and in this case, we're going to pass in run speed. Then we can copy that down here, and we can pass in walk speed. So now, if we want to change this to handle more than just the shift key, we can do. Before we do that, let's just run it, make sure it works. Left shift, that works. Right shift, that works. Cool. So now if we're handling something like the left trigger on a game controller, we can check for the key code, see if that's equal to button L1. So now the grip editor, get rid of it again, move my player, hold down L1 and release L1 and it works. Or if my player moves to the keyboard, hold down shift, that works as well. So now we've got all our logic in one place, so we can add and subtract to this really easy without accidentally breaking our game. Now this works perfectly fine if you're doing something straightforward like setting the walk speed, but if you've got some additional logic, then you don't want to be putting that into a local script. Quite often when you're running some logic, you just want to be running that on a server script. This is so that a user can't manipulate that script, or it might be functionality that applies across the entire server. And you don't want to run that in a local script. If it was across everyone in the server, a local script just wouldn't work. And running scripts on a local script means they can be tampered with. So if we think of a scenario where our player is running, but they have a stamina, so they can only run for a certain period of time, you'd need to do that logic over in the server script. And I'm going to cover that in the next video. Thanks for watching this. I'm Tony from Hump Up Gaming. I'll see you in the next one.